Motor racing is one of the most popular forms of sport in the world, and one particular form of motor racing, hill climbing, is a sport almost as old as the car itself. The Prescott estate in Gloucestershire is home to the Bugatti Owners Club and the Prescott Hill Climb course, a highlight of the hill climb calendar and a venue rich with history.
We acquired the estate in 1937 and it was then owned by the Cotswold Dairy Company. Why they bought it, we don't know. It seems strange. Maybe it was as an investment, maybe one of the owners of the company had lived here at some stage, but we have very little information.
Prescott Hill was actually discovered by a chap called Tom Rolt. He discovered it and I believe it was offered to the Vintage Sports Car Club to buy. We at the time decided for various reasons that it wasn't appropriate, and it was bought by the Bugatti Owners Club.
The Bugatti Owners Club purchased the Prescott estate for £2,500 in 1937. They were then faced with the task of converting the countryside estate into a world-class motorsport venue.
Essentially, it was a private estate with a driveway, a gravel driveway up to the manor house at the top of the hill. That wasn't obviously suitable for motorsport, and so they essentially had to build a new road on the line of the existing track. They started work immediately. It took them about 5 to 6 months to do it, a huge amount of effort, but then produced a tarmac roadway, and that meant that by the spring, April of 1938, we were in a position to run our first event here.
On April the 10th, 1938, the Bugatti Owners Club played host to its first event at Prescott. The Bugatti Owners Club invited its members to the Cheltenham Rally, which acted as a prelude to what Bugantics called the Great Adventure of Prescott.
A lot of vintage car owners have got Bugattis, and so we're members of both clubs, and we knew that it was suitable for competitive events. The Bugatti Owners Club invited us to have a meeting there, to have a hill climb, and it went from there. And the first meeting was actually on the 27th of August 1938.
After its initial success, Prescott played host to its first international meeting in spring 1939. However, shortly afterwards, meets were halted by the start of World War II. On the weekend of May the 4th and 5th, 1946, cars took to the hill at Prescott once again, testing for the first event to be held 2 weeks later. The keen attitude by the Bugatti Owners Club to continuously have cars running up the hill is one maintained up to the present day, with a full season of events every year.
Normally, it's a 2-day meeting, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is practice day, Sunday the timed runs. So you get a run morning and afternoon on each of the days. Depending on the time you put up in practice on the Saturday, your handicap might well be adjusted, although we frown on sandbagging, which is, keeping your time down and then going all out on the Sunday.
Over the years, Prescott has played host to a vast amount of drivers, including Stirling Moss, who competed in his first ever hill climb at Prescott, and John Cooper, who went on to create the Mini Cooper and still has his name worn by a range of cars today. Why is it that Prescott helps develop such incredible talents?
I'm not that competitive a driver, but I do know from speaking to the most competitive drivers who are in the equivalent of Formula One cars with that level of engineering and that level of technology, that the corners, the camber of the corners, just up behind me up there are the S's, and you can go into the S's, but that unbalances the car quite noticeably and puts you the other side ready for another sharp corner up to the left, up towards the semicircle, which actually is very challenging.
It's because it is a driver's hill. If you compare it with somewhere like Shelsley Walsh, your success or failure depends a lot more on your driver's skill than on the power of the car. It came home to me once when I was driving I had an Edwardian car at one time. I was driving that and the radiator was starting to boil. It was a very hot day. And I was so intent on watching the temperature gauge, which is on the top of the radiator, that I didn't notice the first corner coming up. And that was the best time I'd ever done, because I took the corner the right way for once, because I wasn't scared of it, because I didn't notice it. So it's very much a driver's hill.
In the 1930s, you didn't have to wear racing overalls, you didn't have to wear even helmets in the very early days. You could just drive up the hill competitively, as I am at the moment. But nowadays things have changed, and rightly so, from the safety of the drivers and the safety of the spectators. So the drivers have to have very modern, bespoke helmets. They're checked for fitting, they're checked for age to see they conform to all the standards. And the drivers also have flame-proof overalls and flame-proof gloves. And of course we're assisted by a very, very first-rate team of marshals. So if something does go wrong and a driver inadvertently has an accident or leaves the track, the marshals, all of whom highly trained and very well qualified, are all there to help.
1958, we decided that they just weren't getting enough people to marshal. They didn't know who was going to turn up really, and they were actually tackling drivers who, you know, to try and get a few drivers on the hill. So they said, right, we better do something about it. From that, a set of rules were drawn up and the Prescott Marshals Club was founded. It's very different, it's a lot more professional. I mean, we must assign an indemnity for it. Basically, you turn up in your car and you just sort of signed on and you all got together and pretty well, I suppose, it's very similar to today, and you were told to go here, here and here, and that was it. It was very, very simple. Yeah. There was no training as such. No, you turned up and...
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you.
The day went on, you know.
How's it going, Chris? I've got him. Thanks, mate.
Motorsport tickets always carry warnings about the ever-present danger. And when drivers are pushing themselves and their cars to the limit, incidents are inevitable.
1969, on the 7th of September, I was marshalling, I was IC at Etores. It was a national weekend and a guy came up in a Lola T70, a guy named Phil Scragg, and well, he just come off the track and I'm 30 foot away from him now. You think 30 foot, but they worked it out, it was well less than a second between him, you know, half a second from him leaving the track to hitting me, and he hit me and I went over the top of him. Broke both legs, one was smashed and one was broken, and that was it, you know.
Marshals are an essential part of running any event, a motorsport event, and to have our own club based here is a huge benefit to us.
Modern day Prescott keeps true to its heritage. Since 1938, Etores Loop has been added, making the course 1,127 yards long, but any other changes are purely for safety. Prescott has now broadened its appeal to the public, hosting events such as La Vie en Bleu, a French-themed weekend, and the Autumn Classic, an American-themed weekend. These events are attended by thousands of people, a clear indicator that Prescott's appeal is still strong.
It's just incredibly friendly and there's this fantastic atmosphere. It's always way oversubscribed. We run out of parking space for spectators. It's just hugely popular. People go and take picnics. Some people sit in the car park and have a picnic and never even watch the racing. It's that sort of event. It's a social event as much as anything.
I shall always come here because I just love seeing the cars. I love seeing them being driven up the hill competitively, and it's just a wonderful place to be on a summer's morning, a summer's afternoon, spring or autumn. It's perfect. It's quiet and you're in and amongst fellow enthusiasts, and I can think of nothing better.
I've been thinking that his wife is here. Now that all is peaceful and calm, the boys will soon be back on the farm. Mr. Reuben started winking and slowly rubbed his chin. He pulled his chair up close to mine.